welcome to the C-Suite Edge. I'm your host, John Light. I'm also the CEO and founder of Sabretooth Recruiting, and today I am bringing Craig Kirkpatrick to the table to have a conversation about optimal AdvisorAI. I know that's your website, Craig, but I know that you guys are working to fill a pretty important gap in the market today, so thanks so much for joining us today.
John, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I'm hoping, Craig, as we get started here, that maybe you could give us that 90-second or so rundown on Craig Kirkpatrick's journey and what's brought you to where you are today.
Sure. Yeah, again, thanks, John. Yeah, I'm the co-founder of Optimal Advisor AI, and simply we are the AI training partner for financial services firms or large financial services firms. We help them accelerate AI adoption across their organizations. And then for individuals, we simply help them get better answers using AI. And so all of we are trainers. I'll just mention, John, that we don't have any AI tools to sell whatsoever. We're just helping organizations simplify AI across their firms.
You know, it's one of the more challenging things, I think, today, and I'm speaking as someone who uses AI on a daily basis, various versions of it. A lot of people don't give, credit, I guess you could say, to the fact that segments of AI have been around and in use for a long time now, like machine learning.
Sure.
But I use this stuff every day. I use it to help me be more efficient. You and I were just talking about some of the automations that we use to get to the point we're at here in the studio. I'm really curious to find out, when you look around, because I have my own thoughts on this too, when you look around the marketplace and AI adoption and what's going on, and almost the immediate, if I can put it this way, there's almost an immediate sense of democratization in AI usage, because anybody with a credit card and a connection can use ChatGPT or Grok with a Q or Grok with a K, or Gemini or Copilot, or just name whatever one, Perplexity, whichever one you want to name. So how about sharing with us, in light of that, if you're dealing with a large corporation or a bank, for example, a big like B of A or Wells or whoever, a lot of people could be doing a lot of different things, and you've got all kinds of IT security issues. Talk a little bit about, if you can, about what's the big problem that you guys are solving, and I think importantly, how you're going about solving it, because there's just, it's a huge gap in the marketplace, and I don't know how you fill that gap.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. We're fortunate enough to work with some Fortune 500 companies here in the U.S. We work with global investment banks internationally, in small financial advisory firms as well, individuals. And all of them have the same challenge. And really that challenge is, how do you incorporate AI into their business in sort of a compliant way? Right? We're in the middle of this unprecedented change. There's so much noise going on and uncertainty. And so whether you're a large organization or an individual, it's kind of the same. And so what we like to do and what we help them with is simply simplify AI. We do that through use cases. So our training is, what are the 5 or 7 things you can do on a Monday to sort of help save time and enhance client connection and drive growth? And so our work with these organizations is to demystify using AI. Whatever model, we're model agnostic. And so the problem that we're trying to solve is, we're in the midst of this transformational change. You've probably heard it, John, this is maybe 3 or 4 times in the last 500 years, this kind of electricity, the printing press, or industrial revolution, and here we are with AI. So how can we help these organizations simply use this technology in a way that's understandable and help them accelerate, given all the noise? And so that's how we do it in just sort of our trainings, and help them work with any model, whether it's a Copilot or a ChatGPT. It's interesting. I'm a financial services professional. I've done this. I've been in financial services for 25 plus years as the owner of a mutual fund company, which I sold 4 years ago, and started consulting. And you asked about how I got here. I'll share briefly. Somebody in 2022, November, sent me a 200-page real estate document for me to review, which I've done my whole career. That's at the same time ChatGPT came out. So I put it in ChatGPT, and it summarized it, gave me 5 to 7 key takeaways and pros and cons in seconds. And literally from that day, I've probably done nothing else since. I'm now 3,000 hours in 10,000 prompts and using these models. So just helping financial services people, just sharing really what we've learned with these models.
Man, I tell you what, that's good, because a lot of people don't have that time, and it's all exploratory, right? And a lot of people don't know the difference between NLP and traditional search engines or Boolean or any of these other things that we've used in the past.
Yep.
So I'm curious, when you go in to do a training, and I know you mentioned that you have a client right now with 30,000 people that you all have to go in and train with. How do you approach that? I mean, there's got to be a lowest common denominator where you have to start everybody at, but everyone's going to have different levels of exposure and experience. How do you ascertain that and go forward to get everyone to a level that justifies the process to begin with?
Well, first thing we do is just remind everybody, you've been here before. You were around before computers, and you figured that out, and the internet, and your cell phone, and now here this technology comes along. And so one of the things that we do is just try to educate them that on one level, these are simply public websites that you're going to try to get answers. And so we talk about Google, and when you're working with Google, you ask questions, but when you're working with AI, you give instructions. And so just demystifying and showing them really through use cases, just go to these public websites and start to ask some questions and see what the answer. So we teach people first just simply how to have a conversation. And that's where we begin. And we find our audience, we just did a webinar with 1,000 people on it the other day, and 25% had never touched AI.
Really?
Probably 65 are using it a little bit, and then there's some ninja users. And so what we try to do is, if you've never touched it, we want you that afternoon to be able to engage and start to use it through some techniques that we provide.
Yeah.
If you are using it daily, we want to give you some tips how to get better answers. And so you asked how we educate this. We just start by showing the models and then simply showing some use cases. You want to write a letter to a client? Here's the prompt that you would use. John, you use AI a lot, that the prompting and instructions you give AI is everything. And so we do some coaching and training around how you prompt. And then probably our biggest thing is we just show people what's possible. I mean, they don't even know around communication, around research, around business development. So we start there and we just show people in their everyday lives. And so we're financial services people who are teaching financial services people how to use AI. So we're not tech bros. We come from a financial services place. So I think that helps, if that makes sense.
No, I think it does a lot, because when you have a specific application, I've said this, and there are other episodes of this podcast where I brought this up, that the gold rush for 99% of the people out there in the age of AI, the promulgation of AI, is not with the LLMs. It's in combining the power of the LLMs to solve a problem about which we have very specific domain knowledge. Which some companies may look at a problem and think that's not economical enough for me as a mega company to do, but for an individual, it could make or break a career. It could make or break a retirement. It could make or break a lot of things. And I sit back and I was just thinking, okay, well, so I've got financial services professionals, very successful ones, communicating with people about, hey, here's a specific application, the right prompt to use, how to go about it. And I'm assuming you also put people in a situation where they have to learn how to refine that prompt to get to the right answer, because it is an iterative process, and that's pretty critical to be able to understand what I have to go through to get to the end result I'm looking for.
Yeah, for sure. The other area we cover is just simply compliance, right, around using these AI models. And there's, real quick, John, there's two big compliance concerns. These firms are worried that financial professionals will put confidential data into the AI model. Right. Which, depending on the model you have, you don't want to do that. But we just simply remind people.
It's off in the wild ether, right? As soon as the model sees it, it takes it, and off it, it goes into the mix.
But we remind people, you wouldn't put a client financial statement in Google, so don't do it here. So there's just some common sense aspect. But the biggest compliance concern, John, I'm sure you have seen this, that we worry about, is you're going to rely on information that isn't correct, that it can hallucinate. Right. And so this is where human judgment matters. And actually, we talk a lot about it. It turns out the older you are and the more life and business experience you have, you have an advantage using AI because you can check these outputs. You know whether something is correct or
If it looks
not.
real. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's sort of interesting. The first time in human history where technology's come along and it actually benefits those of us that are a little bit older here in nature. But compliance is a big thing, and it's just simply again demystifying, this use case and then showing them how to do it.
It's interesting. You talk about, okay, you got to check your information. You got to check what AI gives you as an output. And that's been true from the jump, I think, especially once generative AI became popular. It's even more so, I think, with agentic, because you have two LLMs typically competing against each other. But what a lot of people don't realize, and this is my understanding of how these large LLMs have been trained over time, it's different from how you would train a child. A child learns things, and their experience could be positive or negative or neutral. Little Johnny reaches up and grabs a hot pan, burns his hand. That's a pretty negative thing. It's going to be, I will never do that again because it hurts. With LLMs, my understanding is how they train these systems is that if they give a wrong answer, there are no consequences. They just get 0 points. No praise, no criticism, whatever. They get a right answer, they get something, points, praise, whatever it might be. The problem is the algos somehow have figured out that I have a chance of getting something positive. So even if I can't find the answer or calculate it out, I'm going to put an answer forward probabilistically, because if it's the right answer, I get a reward, and if I don't, it doesn't cost me anything. And as the human in the loop and the human in charge, you have to recognize that there are consequences, positive or negative, that come from this bluffing, is what it's called. This is separate, albeit related in some respects, to hallucinating. But it's truly, the system is bluffing because there's no consequence. And so you're partnered, and you have a partner who's writing something or analyzing something, and if it can't calculate the answer straight away, if it can't come to that answer that's correct, there's a real good chance the answer it puts forward is just probabilistic. Maybe this is it. It didn't say that. And that's a dangerous place to be, because especially in a business where you have fiduciary responsibilities, you can go to jail for certain things, you better be right.
John, I love this point you're bringing up because, again, we teach our clients how to navigate this. For those of you that on this call that have used AI before, you will notice that AI happy talks you. It really tells you you're great in every and all cases, right? I want to put butter on my cereal. Good job, Craig. And it's been programmed this way to keep you engaged. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that there's a professor, Samuel Utley, I think at Stanford, who was sharing when he's doing critical thinking prompting, he tells AI to act like a Cold War Russian gymnast judge. To act that way to give him a correct perspective. So one of the things that we teach and train is how you can engage AI to be more critical, to or cite your sources or defend your answer. Because the point you hit, we see it a lot. It can tell you you're great or give you an answer that's not correct. So this is just one of the challenges of using these models.
Man, I'm going to have to steal that and use it, Listen, deal with me like you're a Cold War Soviet gymnastics judge in the Olympics.
Yeah, you're going to get a score of 42 out of 100 every time. But again, at least you're getting a different view, right, of what you're trying to come up with. So there's techniques.
But it has that thing, doesn't it, Craig, that even if they give you the 42 out of 100, let's just say, going back and riffing on the gymnast judge, it could still be bluffing in that respect.
Completely. This is where, sorry to interrupt. This is where human judgment matters. This is where we learn to say, please cite your sources, defend your answer. You don't believe everything you get from Google in any article, and you just can't simply do it here. And so that's the training to learn how to take this and use your human judgment and decide. We tell all of our clients, listen, you own what you communicate, right? So that's the biggest risk, and there's some things you can do to limit that part of it.
I like that. You own what you communicate. I wish more people would take that to heart. Craig, there's so much out there I think we could cover from an example perspective, right? Because we were talking pre-show, and we're like, bring it to life. Bring up some examples. I don't want to hear any horror stories or anything like that right now about where things have gone sideways. But I think that note that idea that you own what you communicate is so important. We spend all of our lives, raising children and being raised when we were children, going into adulthood, but being mindful of what we say. Remember to put yourself in the other person's shoes before you say something. Remember my kids being told, if it's not true, kind, or necessary, don't say it.
Yep.
Of course, when they become teenagers, who knows what's going to spout out of them in that regard. But if someone wants to dive deeper on this topic, Craig, if they want to get deeper in, hey, how could we elevate our company person by person, group by group, in a way to really and truly lever the good stuff that comes with AI and avoid getting caught in the traps that come with it, what's the best way for folks to find you and get in touch?
Yep. Yeah, sure. Thanks, John. Well, again, our company is optimaladvisorai.com. And there within the website, we have a learning center, an online learning center that people can do self-guided to take them either through a ChatGPT or Copilot, or we do consulting with firms. And so, yeah, optimaladvisorai.com is where you can kind of find us. And again, it's been, John, you and I were talking about, it's just been an interesting journey from where we started to now finding ourselves, getting a chance to teach and educate people all over the world. So more than happy to share our insights with that journey.
Sounds great. Craig, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, John.